Let me begin with something that may surprise you. Attraction is not about charm, beauty, status, or clever words. It is about safety. It is about presence. It is about whether another human nervous system feels that, in your presence, it can finally exhale. We spend our lives trying to be impressive. We perfect our appearance. We rehearse what to say. We measure our worth by who chooses us. And yet, the more we strive to be chosen, the more disconnected we become from ourselves and from others. Because true attraction is not a performance. It is a state of being. Every human being you meet carries invisible burdens, old wounds, unspoken fears, a longing to be seen without being judged. Most of us learned very early in life that love had conditions. Be good, be quiet, be successful, be strong, don't be too much, don't be needy, don't be angry. So we adapted. We became who we thought we had to be in order to belong. But beneath those adaptations lives a simple need: be accepted as we are. And here are the 6 words that unlock that door. You don't have to be perfect. Say that to someone else and mean it. When you tell someone you don't have to be perfect, you are doing something radical. You are removing the invisible contract most of us carry into relationships. I will love you if you meet my expectations. Instead, you are offering presence without pressure. You are saying, I see your flaws, your awkwardness, your uncertainty. I am not threatened by them. You are safe here. That kind of safety is magnetic. But here is the deeper truth. You cannot authentically say those 6 words to another person if you have not first said them to yourself. If you are harsh with your own imperfections, if you are secretly ashamed of your needs, if you are chasing validation to fill an inner emptiness, people will feel that. Not consciously, perhaps, but emotionally. The body always knows. Attraction is not created by striving. It is created by regulation. When you are grounded in yourself, when you are not trying to extract love, approval, or reassurance from someone, you become profoundly attractive. Not because you are flawless, but because you are real. Authenticity is rare in a world addicted to image. When you look at someone with genuine curiosity instead of evaluation, when you listen without preparing your response, when you allow silence without rushing to fill it, when you accept their humanity instead of trying to fix it, you create connection. And connection is what people are truly hungry for. Understand this. People are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to permission. Permission to drop the mask. Permission to breathe. Permission to be human. So when you say, you don't have to be perfect, let it come from a regulated nervous system. Let it come from compassion. Let it come from the part of you that has made peace with your own wounds. Because the most attractive person in any room is not the loudest, not the most confident, not the most accomplished. It is the one who feels safe to be around, and safety begins within. If you want to attract anyone, romantically, professionally, socially, stop trying to be impressive. Start being present. Stop trying to win approval. Start offering acceptance. And tonight, before you say those 6 words to anyone else, stand in front of a mirror and say them to yourself. You don't have to be perfect. Let them soften you. Let them heal you. Let them free you. Then walk into the world not as someone seeking to be chosen, but as someone who offers belonging, and watch who is drawn to you. When we speak about safety, we are not talking about physical danger. We are speaking about emotional safety, the kind that allows a person's nervous system to settle, the kind that tells the body without words, you are not under threat here. Most human interactions are subtle negotiations of safety. Long before logic enters the conversation, our biology is already asking, am I accepted? Am I judged? Do I have to perform? Do I have to defend myself? From early childhood, we are wired to scan for these signals. A raised eyebrow, a change in tone, a distracted gaze. All of these are interpreted by the nervous system as cues. If as children love felt conditional, we learn to monitor others carefully. We learn to shape ourselves in ways that preserved connection. Because for a child, connection is survival. That adaptation does not disappear in adulthood. It simply becomes more sophisticated. So when 2 adults meet, what is really happening beneath the surface? 2 nervous systems are assessing one another, not in a conscious analytical way, but in a deeply embodied way. Is this person rigid or relaxed? Are they listening or waiting to speak? Are they trying to impress me? Are they subtly evaluating me? Do I feel seen or do I feel measured? If I feel measured, I tense. If I feel evaluated, I armor. If I sense that I must earn approval, I begin performing. But if I feel that I can exist without performing, something remarkable happens. My shoulders drop, my breathing slows, my voice becomes more natural, my humor becomes spontaneous rather than strategic. In other words, I become myself. And here is the paradox. We are most attractive when we are most ourselves, yet we can only be ourselves when we feel safe. Safety then is the soil from which attraction grows. Many people believe attraction is driven by confidence, but what they often call confidence is actually regulation. A regulated person is not frantic for approval. They are not hyper-vigilant. They are not chasing validation. Their presence communicates, I am okay with myself, and I am okay with you. That steadiness is deeply reassuring to others. Consider what happens when someone sits across from you and gives you their full attention. Their phone is away. Their body is oriented toward you. Their eyes are soft, not piercing or distracted. They are not interrupting to tell a better story. They are not subtly steering the conversation back to themselves. They are simply there. In that space, something in you settles. Why? Because attention is one of the purest forms of safety. To be attended to without agenda is to be acknowledged as worthy of space. Contrast this with the energy of someone who is trying very hard to be liked. Their laughter may be slightly too eager, their compliments slightly too frequent, their posture slightly too calculated. There is effort there, and effort often carries anxiety. Anxiety, even when hidden, is contagious. The other person may not know why, but they feel a pressure, a subtle demand to respond, to reassure, to validate. Safety has no demand in it. It does not say, approve of me. It does not say, choose me. It does not say, confirm that I am enough. It says quietly, I am here. That is profoundly attractive because most people are tired of managing other people's insecurities. They are tired of being unconsciously recruited to fill emotional voids. When they encounter someone who is not extracting reassurance, they experience relief. And relief is magnetic. Safety also means emotional permission. It means allowing someone to express uncertainty, sadness, excitement, even awkwardness without shrinking away. When you respond to someone's vulnerability with calm acceptance rather than discomfort, you send a powerful message. Your emotions do not overwhelm me. Many of us grew up in environments where certain emotions were unwelcome. Anger might have been punished, sadness dismissed, fear mocked. So we learned to suppress. We learned to curate what we showed. Imagine then the impact of meeting someone who does not flinch at your honesty, someone who does not rush to fix you, someone who does not minimize your experience. Their steadiness becomes a corrective emotional experience. Your nervous system begins to update its old programming. This is not manipulation. It is not technique. It cannot be faked for long. Genuine safety arises from self-acceptance. If you are uncomfortable with your own imperfections, you will unconsciously transmit that discomfort. You may smile. You may say kind words, but beneath it there will be tension. The work, therefore, begins within. When you stop judging your own awkwardness, you stop fearing someone else's. When you make space for your own fear, you become less reactive to another person's. When you no longer believe you must be flawless to deserve love, you stop expecting flawlessness from others. And this internal shift transforms how you show up. Your voice slows, your movements soften, your listening deepens, your responses become thoughtful rather than defensive. People feel that difference. Safety is not loud. It does not announce itself. It is subtle, almost invisible, but its absence is immediately felt. In a world where many interactions are transactional, where people are networking, comparing, competing, a person who offers non-transactional presence stands out without trying to. This is why attraction rooted in safety tends to be enduring. It is not fueled by adrenaline or fantasy. It is grounded. It feels sustainable. It does not exhaust. When someone feels safe with you, they associate you with ease, with exhale, with authenticity. They do not leave interactions drained. They leave feeling more themselves. And who would not be drawn back to that? Let us now explore the second truth more deeply. You cannot authentically say those 6 words to another person if you have not first said them to yourself. Most of us carry an invisible inner critic. It developed early, often as a protective mechanism. When we were young, belonging was essential. If love or approval felt conditional, we adapted. We learned to monitor ourselves constantly. Don't say that. Don't be too emotional. Try harder. Be better. That voice was not born out of cruelty. It was born out of fear, the fear of losing connection. Over time, that protective voice became internalized. We no longer needed a parent, teacher, or peer to judge us. We learned to do it ourselves, and we became very good at it. This inner critic shapes how we relate to others in ways we rarely notice. If I believe deep down that I am not enough as I am, then every interaction becomes a test. I will try to impress you. I will try to win you. I will attempt to secure your approval so that for a moment the critic quiets down. But when I seek from you what I have not given myself, acceptance, I place a subtle burden on you. I am no longer simply relating. I am negotiating for reassurance. And even if you cannot articulate it, you will feel it. Self-acceptance is not complacency. It is not resignation. It is the radical act of meeting yourself without hostility. It is the willingness to look at your imperfections and say, you belong here too. When you have not done this inner work, you cannot truly tell another person you don't have to be perfect, because somewhere inside you still believe that you do. And that belief leaks out. It leaks out in your expectations, in your disappointments, in your impatience. If you are unforgiving toward your own mistakes, you will struggle to be forgiving toward theirs. If you are ashamed of your own needs, you may feel irritated by their needs. If you suppress your own vulnerability, theirs may make you uncomfortable. We can only offer others the emotional space we have created within ourselves. Consider what happens when you make a mistake. Do you immediately attack yourself? Do you replay the error repeatedly in your mind? Do you equate the mistake with your worth? If so, that same rigidity will inevitably color your relationships. You may not criticize others overtly, but you may withdraw. You may judge silently. You may become less warm. The nervous system of the person in front of you will pick up on that contraction. On the other hand, imagine that you have learned to respond to your own missteps with curiosity rather than condemnation. Instead of "I'm such a failure," you ask, "What was I feeling? What was I needing? What can I learn?" That shift transforms your internal landscape. You become less reactive, less defensive, and that internal gentleness becomes externally visible. Self-acceptance creates steadiness. When you no longer depend on external validation to feel okay, you become less anxious in connection. You are not scanning constantly for signs of rejection. You are not over-interpreting neutral expressions as disapproval. You are not trying to control how you are perceived. There is freedom in that. And freedom is attractive because it allows the other person to relax. They do not feel responsible for maintaining your self-esteem. They do not feel pressured to constantly affirm you. They sense that you stand on your own emotional ground. This does not mean you never feel insecure. It means you do not mean you never feel insecure. It means you do not shame yourself for feeling insecure. You can acknowledge it without letting it dictate your behavior. The paradox is that when you accept your imperfections, they lose much of their power. The awkward pause in conversation becomes simply a pause. The nervous laugh becomes a human moment. The disagreement becomes an opportunity for understanding rather than a threat to connection. People are drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin, not because they are flawless, but because they are not at war with themselves. Inner conflict is exhausting. If you are constantly fighting parts of yourself, that tension is palpable. Your body tightens, your tone sharpens, your energy becomes restless. But when you have integrated the parts of you that once felt unacceptable, the sensitive part, the ambitious part, the fearful part, you become whole. Wholeness feels calm, and calm allows intimacy. To say to yourself, "You don't have to be perfect," is to dismantle a lifetime of conditional self-worth. It is to recognize that your value is never dependent on performance, that your mistakes do not erase your humanity, that your needs do not make you weak. When you internalize that truth, something shifts in how you relate. You no longer approach others as a hungry person seeking crumbs of affirmation. You approach them as a full human being, capable of giving as well as receiving. You listen more deeply because you are not preoccupied with how you are being judged. You speak more honestly because you are not terrified of being rejected for your authenticity. You set boundaries more calmly because you no longer equate disagreement with abandonment. Self-acceptance also softens comparison. When you are at peace with your own path, you are less threatened by someone else's strengths. Their success does not diminish you. Their confidence does not intimidate you. This absence of competitiveness creates a spaciousness in connection, and spaciousness invites closeness. Many people attempt to cultivate attraction through strategy, learning techniques, memorizing lines, adopting personas. But if beneath those strategies lies self-rejection, the effect will be temporary. Eventually, the performance cracks, the fear resurfaces, the neediness emerges. Authentic magnetism cannot be manufactured. It grows from internal alignment. When you accept yourself, you send a powerful nonverbal message. I am not asking you to complete me. I am not asking you to rescue me from myself. I am here as I am. That message is deeply reassuring. It allows the other person to show up as they are, without fear of being overwhelmed by your expectations. And in that mutual acceptance, something rare begins to form, a connection not based on performance, but on presence. From early on, most of us learned that certain parts of ourselves were more acceptable than others. Perhaps we were praised for achievement but ignored in vulnerability. Perhaps we were valued for being easygoing, but subtly discouraged from expressing anger. Over time, we internalized these messages. We curated ourselves. We edited. We polished. We performed. The result is that many adults walk through the world wearing invisible masks, not because they are dishonest, but because they are afraid. Afraid that if they reveal too much, they will be rejected. Afraid that their flaws will cost them connection. Afraid that their needs will make them burdensome. So they manage impressions, they measure their words, they monitor reactions, and this constant self-surveillance is exhausting. When someone enters their life and communicates, through tone, posture, and presence, that they do not need to perform, something profound happens. They experience permission. Permission to speak imperfectly. Permission to pause and gather their thoughts. Permission to admit uncertainty. Permission to laugh too loudly. Permission to be human. Permission is powerful because it directly counters the lifelong conditioning of conditional acceptance. But here is the subtlety. Permission cannot be announced. It must be embodied. If you say, "Be yourself," but tense when the person expresses an unpopular opinion, your body contradicts your words. If you claim to value honesty, but react defensively when given feedback, you withdraw the permission you appeared to offer. Human beings are exquisitely attuned to incongruence. We may not consciously articulate it, but we feel it. To offer true permission, you must regulate your own reactions. When someone shares something vulnerable, perhaps a fear, a failure, a regret, your immediate impulse may be to fix, to advise, or to minimize. It's not that bad. Just stay positive. You'll figure it out. These responses are often well-intentioned, but they subtly communicate discomfort. They suggest that the emotion should be moved through quickly. Permission, on the other hand, says, "You can stay here for a moment." It sounds like that makes sense. It looks like steady eye contact and patient silence. It feels like space rather than urgency. Most people rarely experience that kind of space. They are used to conversations that are transactional, an exchange of information, humor, or status. They are not used to conversations that allow depth without pressure. When you offer that depth, you become memorable. This is not about becoming someone's therapist. It is about becoming someone who does not flinch at authenticity. When you do not rush to fill silence, you communicate comfort. When you do not mock awkwardness, you normalize it. When you do not withdraw at emotional intensity, you validate it. And validation is deeply attractive because it affirms existence. At a nervous system level, permission reduces threat. When I feel permitted to be myself, I no longer expend energy on concealment. My body relaxes. My facial muscles soften. My breathing deepens. I am not bracing for judgment. This relaxation creates warmth, and warmth fosters connection. Perfection, by contrast, often creates distance. When someone appears flawless, always composed, always articulate, always successful, it can evoke admiration, but not necessarily closeness. Perfection can feel intimidating. It can trigger comparison. It can reinforce the belief that one must measure up. Permission dissolves that hierarchy. When you share your own humanity, your missteps, your doubts, your ongoing learning, you model imperfection without shame. You demonstrate that worth is not contingent on flawlessness. This modeling grants others implicit permission to lower their guard. But this requires courage, because to offer permission, you must first risk being seen yourself. If you are unwilling to reveal any vulnerability, you subtly demand that others maintain their masks as well. If you present only a curated version of yourself, you create a dynamic in which authenticity feels unsafe. Yet when you say, "I was nervous about this too," or "I don't have it all figured out," you puncture the illusion that confidence equals invulnerability. You humanize yourself, and in doing so, you humanize the space between you. Permission also means allowing differences. It means not needing someone to agree with you in order to feel secure. When disagreement arises and you remain calm, curious, and respectful, you communicate that connection does not depend on uniformity. This is rare. Many interactions fracture under the strain of differing opinions. If someone senses that expressing a divergent view will cost them approval, they will either suppress it or distance themselves. But if they sense that you can tolerate divergence without withdrawal, they feel safer revealing their true thoughts. And authenticity deepens attraction far more than agreement ever could. There
is also permission in joy. When you are unapologetically enthusiastic, when you laugh freely without scanning the room for approval, you grant others the same freedom. Emotional expression is contagious. If you are constrained, others tighten. If you are open, others open. The most magnetic individuals are often those who give others emotional latitude. Around them, people feel more themselves, more articulate, more expressive, more alive. That aliveness becomes associated with the person who
made it possible. We are drawn not just to who someone is, but to who we are allowed to be in their presence. If in your presence I feel judged, I will shrink. If in your presence I feel evaluated, I will perform. If in your presence I feel tolerated, but not embraced, I will remain cautious. But if in your presence I feel permitted to exist without editing, I will return. Permission is not passive. It is an active stance of openness. It requires you to monitor your own impulsive, to correct, to dominate, to outshine, to dismiss. It requires humility, the recognition that another person's inner world is as complex and valid as your own. When you approach others with that humility, you step out of competition and into connection. And connection, rooted in permission, is what people are truly seeking beneath all the surface-level strategies of attraction.